Hello and welcome to another edition of the Scores Sweeper Keeper podcast. Today's episode is presented by our friends at EA Sports, who have brought the most prestigious club competition to FIFA 19 by introducing the UEFA Champions League, featuring official match presentation, a variety of tournament options, and an all-new commentary team, all available right now on FIFA 19. I'm your host, Gianluca Nesci, and fittingly, the Champions League is exactly what we're here to discuss today after Tuesday's really surprising slate of matches, actually. We've got a special episode for you today. It's our first video podcast, so listeners, you finally have a chance to put some faces to the voices that you've been hearing.
Sorry about that. Not good.
One of those voices, of course, right there is the lovely British accent of Mr. Daniel Rouse.
Hello there.
And sitting next to him, we weren't joking when we said he's an Andre Voronin doppelganger. Michael Chandler is here as well.
Oh, right.
Little role reversal there. Very nice. Quick note here before we get started. If you can't stand to look at our faces, and frankly, I don't blame you, you can find this podcast where all the other shows have been available. iTunes, SoundCloud. You can head over to the Score app as well. Find them there. If you can stand looking at us, then let's get started here, guys. Champions League, it's back with a bang. Let's start, I think, as we have tended to do for the last few episodes here with Manchester United. Oof, another just completely dour display. 0-0 against Valencia. Frankly, both sides were very, very poor. Rouse, I'll throw it to you first here. They just don't have a plan. There's no coherent plan. Alexis Sanchez was back in the side, and he was abysmal. What issue is Jose Mourinho actually trying to fix? Because I don't know if he knows what the problems are right now at United.
He hasn't got a clue. And, do we have to start with this team? My caffeine intake has really gone up covering this United team under Mourinho. Just abysmal stuff today. Really, really bad. Just such stupefying drivel. And, I'll go back to a Mark Ogden tweet that I saw on Twitter earlier where he might be a little bit harsh, but he said, Man United have been poor again, but the crowd has been subdued and the atmosphere non-existent. United fans can mock City on a Champions League night, but they're not showing themselves to be any different here. Probably a little bit harsh, because the stuff that Mourinho is putting on show is just very, very poor. And you can just see the lack of foresight in the Alexis Sanchez signing here, where, putting him on the right-hand side, he never, ever did that for Arsenal. He's always been playing off the left, but he's just got a surplus of options there. I mean, Marcus Rashford was decent playing off the left today, brought on Anthony Martial. There you were already there before. Why bring in Alexis Sanchez? They weren't needed. I think they did it just to kind of flex their muscles and show off that they could beat Man City to that target.
Yeah, it really pains me to see Alexis Sanchez playing this poorly.
Oh, yeah. Chandler was laughing throughout the entirety of that match.
After playing 90 minutes a match for 50 matches a season at Arsenal and never having a summer off, whether it be with Chile or whatever, he looks terrible. And for the first time in Jose Mourinho's career, that is now 4 matches on the spin that his side has failed to score a goal. They were terrible. And perhaps Valencia were equally as terrible. And look, we came into this match, our colleague Tom wrote something about the two sides kind of sputtering to kick off the campaign. Something's got to give, if you will. And Valencia wasn't much better. They were really, really poor in the final third. They had a front three of Michy Batshuayi, Spanish international Rodriguez, and Goncalo Guedes. And the three of them were really poor. I think I saw a stat after 50 minutes, Goncalo Guedes had 6 shots. 2 United's 5. Spoiler alert, none of those went in. So a dire performance from both sides.
Yeah, United were just, frankly, very lucky that Valencia was so bad. There were just so many overhit passes in that final third. And Gonzalo Guedes was very, very involved in the action, but it always came down to some really, really poor decision-making from him. And as I said, just overhit balls left, right and centre from him. It was very poor. But, both of these managers now, both United and Valencia, their days are ticking, their days are numbered, aren't they?
I think Mourinho's trying to lose his job or get fired, if you will, because a lot of decisions he's made of late have been head scratchers that may kind of, cater to that opinion. Like starting Scott McTominay at center half against West Ham, you're just doing that to
We
prove
know
a
Mourinho
point.
loves Scott McTominay.
Oh, he does.
Oh, legend, Scottish legend, But no, a lot of really weird decisions from the Portuguese gaffer. And frankly, United didn't deserve anything better than a point today.
Is it possible that Mourinho knows that he has the backing of Ed Woodward and he can maybe take some chances for a manager who otherwise in this position would be, very worried about something like that and the optics of it? I throw in a McTominay in a match where we're very obviously struggling, haven't won in a couple weeks. Maybe somebody else wouldn't take that chance, but does Mourinho maybe have the backing of Woodward where he can be a little bit more risky with his team selection?
I don't think risk-taking and Mourinho go hand in hand, do we? I mean, he's not really going to be doing that. I just think there's not really any United players playing well right now. I mean, people gave Luke Shaw a bit of credit. Well done, he got his England place back. He got given a runaround by Pablo Zabaleta over the weekend, and he's like 62 years old. So I don't think anyone's playing well. I think he's just got to go. It's just, God, if you're a United fan watching that, like, where'd you go? He's just got to go. There's only one solution. He's got to go at the nearest opportunity.
If you're a United fan, you watch that, you got to go to the pub after that.
Oh.
You need something to drown those sorrows ASAP.
The other Manchester side, we've talked a lot about Manchester United, and on our previous two shows, we discussed backing Pogba over Mourinho in this ongoing feud, and then we discussed potential Mourinho replacements, so you can go check out those on the theScore app. But let's flip over to the other Manchester side. Manchester City didn't start great, Rouse, but they got it done eventually, 2-1 win over Hoffenheim.
Yeah, you talk about risk-taking in Mourinho's selection. So there was some risk-taking here with Guardiola because Zinchenko's been fantastic last couple of games for City. Weirdly dropped from the side, and Aymeric Laporte playing at left-back. Laporte's been really good start of this season, but he's not a left-back for me. Put in one dodgy back pass where, very, very lucky not to get punished, but this was David Silva's game again. Just his ability to receive the ball in a half turn on his own defensive third, spin it. He almost put Raheem Sterling through for a fantastic goal where it's a fantastic save from the Hoffenheim goalkeeper. And just the way his opportunism to get that goal. He just nicks the ball off the toe of the defender, lashes past the keeper. 87 minutes into the game, he's just such a delight to watch. 32 years old now, doesn't seem to be lagging at all. Maybe a touch in the Modric's to him.
Where does David Silva rank amongst, some of the best Premier League players ever, I think, at this point? He feels like the kind of guy we're going to look back on his career and say, you know what, maybe we didn't appreciate him as much as we should have.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I feel like he's still underrated, which is obscene because every time I watch him, he's just so good on the ball. I think maybe we're I hate to use the term too much, desensitized, but I think we are desensitized to just how brilliant of a player David Silva is, especially when he's surrounded by fellow, top tier world class players. But like you said, he's the ultimate opportunist. I'm a little gutted for Hoffenheim because they were playing well. City probably deserves the 3 points in the 2-1 victory, but their central defender from Hoffenheim, Stefan Posch, had a bit of a brain cramp and gifted Silva that opportunity, but tough for Hoffenheim. They had a tough match on the weekend against RB Leipzig, who Hoffenheim manager Julian Nagelsmann, that's his next club. But the focus is on City. They weren't great. They got the result. We talked about how early in the season results matter more than performances, and especially after losing at home to a very, very good Lyon side. 3 points was necessary today for City.
I think David Silva certainly has to go down as one of the best players in Premier League history. If you're doing a starting 11, he has to go in there. I think the tendency now to assess players by their numbers maybe is a reason why Silva doesn't get that credit, because he doesn't really get that many assists. For me, assists are a stupid stat because you could pass sideways 1 yard, a guy could run half the pitch and score. That's an assist. He shouldn't get credit for that. Whereas Silva often gets that, like a hockey assist, to use a Canadian term, where, he'll just completely slice at defence in half, give Sané an easy pass, just pass across the goal to Sterling. And yeah, I just feel like maybe that's why Silva's overlooked in the modern game, although today he did lead everybody on the pitch in key passes. So he was just so busy. He's an industrious little fella as well. He's really toughened up his game since he's been playing in England.
Listen to Rouse. He's using Canadian hockey terms over here. That doesn't feel right.
I was just thinking exactly the same thing. You look at that group now, Group F, big win, obviously, for City, as you mentioned, coming off that loss against Lyon in their opener, that surprising loss. Lyon and Shakhtar 2-2 draw. So Lyon first on 4 points, then City on 3, Shakhtar and then Hoffenheim rounding it out on 1. City's one of the favorites to win this tournament, frankly, and they got it done today in the end, and they'll be aggrieved by some officiating calls that didn't go their way. But they've not looked great, which is a contrast, obviously, to the Premier League. They're flying. But, Rouse, what is the issue here early on that you've seen? In the Premier League, they've looked excellent, and in the Champions League, they've struggled a little bit.
I think it's maybe not starting games as fast as they did last season. They're really not flying out the blocks. I mean, one stat which caught my eye, Bill Edgar at the Times put it out there saying City had conceded 1 second-half goal in the last 17 games, and that was the Willy Bolly handball for Wolves. So, they really, really tightened things up after the break, but they just need to come out a little bit quicker in games. And, they conceded the goal today. I think it was after something like 44 seconds. So, when they clean that act up, I think they will. I think they'll still finish top of this group, but yeah, a steady start, and as Chandler said before, Hoffenheim definitely deserve credit for what was a very, very solid defensive display.
Yeah, and if you're a City fan, you got to be happy, especially, we just talked about the loss of Lyon, but that's a good result away from home. You've got a goal for Aguero, who has now scored in 5 straight Champions League away fixtures, which matches a record for English clubs. I think it was 2003. Ruud van Nistelrooy did that for Man United. So good, positive result. No one got hurt, and you can look forward to the weekend now.
So City gets the comeback win. Another side who got off to a very slow start, but couldn't find the goals to come back. And this was the big surprise, I think, for all of us today. The holders, Real Madrid, that unenviable trip to Russia to play CSKA Moscow. They give up a goal in the early stages to Everton legend Nikola Vlasic. and then they can't come back. I mean, CSKA Moscow holds on for a 1-0 win. Look, Real Madrid had all the ball, especially late on. But frankly, CSKA looked pretty comfortable. 5 men across the back line, a low block, 2 central defensive midfielders in front of that. Madrid crafted a few chances very late. Rafael Varane had a header that went just wide. They hit the post as well. But you expect more from Real Madrid. I know they were missing Gareth Bale. They were missing Isco. They were missing Marcelo. They were missing Sergio Ramos. But this is Real Madrid we're talking about, the defending champions. And that's a huge stunner for CSKA Moscow to get that win.
Yeah, and this is the first time for Real Madrid since January 2007 that they've got 3 matches on the spin without scoring a goal, and they were quite flaccid on the weekend in the Madrid derby there against Atletico, which ended 0-0. And Gareth Bale said a few weeks ago, look, we've had a massive exit in the summer with Ronaldo going to Juve, but we might be better. It might be addition through subtraction. I think we're a more unified team. We play better as a team. Well, Bale's words are falling on deaf ears because they've been quite poor. And like you said, the opportunities have been there for them.
What surprised me, I'm just looking at this game now. I was watching the Manchester United game, but Igor Akinfeev got sent off. Have they got a sub-keeper?
Yeah, Igor Akinfeev has played every minute of every game for CSKA for the last, it feels like, 20 years.
So does he get credit for the clean sheet? Because you'll remember the Russian #1 set a Champions League record. He went 43 matches on the bounce without registering a clean sheet. He got one last season to snap that unenviable sort of stretch, but I kind of like Akinfeev a lot. And I'm not upset to see Real Madrid go to Russia, probably undersell their opponents, and, credit to CSKA. They nicked a good result.
Yeah, and with Roma also winning very handily in that group, they put up a 5 spot on Victoria Pilsen. Edin Dzeko with a hat-trick in that one. You got CSKA on 4 points, leading Group G. Roma coming up in second right now on goal difference. They're on 3 points. Madrid also on 3 points, and Pilsen bringing up the rear. Does anybody realistically not expect Real Madrid to come out of this group?
No. I mean, let's be honest.
Short and sweet. Very good.
They've made a pretty good habit of advancing deep in this tournament. They've won the most European Cup / Champions Leagues. Betting against them would not be wise. Mind you, as an aside, you'll recall before that match, I said CSKA's going to get a result. So some kind of credit for me would be nice. Maybe.
No.
You have the lottery numbers for us as well?
Yeah, I do. No. But, it's funny. We talk about managers who are not making a good case for keeping their jobs. We saw that earlier with both Marcelino, the Valencia manager, and Jose Mourinho, the Manchester United manager. Conversely, how about Eusebio Di Francesco? There was reports the Roma manager was going to get sacked. They had a really good result on the weekend domestically in Italy, and they looked really, really good today, albeit against a Czech side in Victoria Plzeň, but Edin Dzeko, who's got a bit of the Mario Mandzukic for me. He just does everything out there for his side. He's a selfless player. He's very good at hold-up play. He's an underrated passer, and today he picked up a hat-trick. So one of two players to pick up a hat-trick today in Champions League alongside my other doppelganger, Paulo Dybala.
Yeah, I think Edin Dzeko, and I like your praise there for him. I think on his, when he's not on his day, he is bad. He is like Roque Santa Cruz bad.
Okay.
That seems a little
harsh.
But on his day, he is one of the best strikers in world football, I think, when he's on form, when he's really going for it. So I'm delighted to see him do so well. I mean, Gianluca, you watch a lot more Italian football than we do. I mean, how good are this Roma team side? Can they match last year's semi-final appearance?
I don't think so. I still have very real questions about this Roma side. And, Chandler, like you said, they've turned it around a little bit, spurred on by a big win over Frosinone, and then the really big win over Lazio in the derby. Again, it's Victoria Pilsen. You drop a 5 spot on them, fine. I have questions about their midfield balance, how Eusebio Di Francesco is going to go about that this season. There was a lot of turnover in the offseason in the summer, right? So a lot of new faces. He has to figure out a way to meld and make them work. If Dzeko gets hurt, then you have some real concerns. Can Patrick Schick be the guy to lead the line? I don't think so.
No.
Justin Kluivert scored today, and he's looked very, very good early in the season. I don't know. I still have some questions. I definitely don't think they can make a run to the semifinal. And frankly, I think they could be in tough to finish top 4 in Serie A this season as well.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But in terms of small sample size, Kluivert, opened his account, which is good. Cengiz Unger got a goal for them, and someone they've pegged to be, a big star. So to have two of their sort of wide young attackers in Unger and Kluivert getting goals, that's massive. But man of the match today by some margin, Edin Dzeko.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned Paulo Dybala, your other doppelganger. We'll let that one slide. Well, see, no retort either.
Yeah, we can address that when we get to the Juve match.
Yeah.
I do have points.
Let's do that very quickly. I mean, Dybala scored the hat-trick. Juve won 3-0 against Young Boys. This, to me, boils down very simply to just a very good side at home beating a side that is, frankly, in the tournament to make up the numbers.
Yeah, in the Harold and Maude derby, the old lady versus the young boys, Dybala was a focal point. He was amazing. He now has 9 Champions League goals, all coming on his left foot. So pardon me, that's where the comparison comes, because I too am a versatile left-footed striker with radiant blue eyes. So I'm sorry if my colleagues can't see the resemblance. Since this is being videotaped, maybe we can do one of those side-by-side comparisons of me and the Argentine forward.
We'll get to work on that right away.
Yeah, that would be a no.
Don't do that to yourself. Don't do it.
But a great result, and I was happy to see Dybala do well. I mean, look, Ronaldo was suspended, and that was sort of hanging over this match. So for Dybala to get the 3 goals and the 3 points for Juve, it was easy business for them.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at that group now, Juve on the back of their 2-0 win over Valencia in the opener. So you got Juve on 6 points, Manchester United on 4, Valencia, I mean, it feels like they've had their chances in this group, right? Up a man for an hour against Juve, couldn't get it done. And now they play Manchester United in what is arguably one of United's lowest points in recent memory. And with a little bit more final product, they should have taken something away from that match. Gonzalo Guedes, like you said, Chandler, he's not going to want to remember that one. Just a lot of sloppy plays in the final third, a lot of sloppy final touches. There was one in particular where he would have been clean in on goal from the halfway line, and his first touch was poor. So they're on 1 point, and then Young Boys bringing up the rear. I think United, because of how slowly Valencia has started the season, actually will probably feel pretty good about this group that they can come through in second with, you think, Juve coming out on top.
Yeah, and look, when 2 years ago, they won that Mickey Mouse double, winning the League Cup and the Europa League, they were so far adrift in the league that Mourinho was able to sort of allocate his resources for those 2 tournaments. History's repeating itself. They're already 9 points off the top of the Premier League table. If this skid domestically continues, I mean, Mourinho would be mad not to put all his eggs in sort of that continental basket, if you will.
But the way they're playing, they haven't got a chance. Like, they're just lucky that Valencia are that bad. They can finish second place in the group. No, whoopee-doo, aren't they? Better to go through into Europa League. They've got more chance of winning that. They're already out of the League Cup. They've got no chance of the league. They just got the FA Cup to go for. They are not going to get far in the Champions League the way they're playing. They need to change the manager quick, and that manager should be Zidane.
There's a lot of guys who we bandied about potentially coming in and replacing Jose Mourinho. Zidane seems to be top of that list for everybody. Part of that is simply because he's available, obviously, right? As a joke more than anything, I threw around Arsene Wenger just to get a rise out of Chandler. And I think
Is the camera on me right now? Put the camera on me right now.
Yeah, there you go. The reaction was something like that. We talked about potentially Maurizio Pochettino. You ride out the season with Mourinho, and then you have Maurizio Pochettino if you can poach him from Spurs. But again, a lot to digest for United, and a lot for Ed Woodward and the brass to digest and see where they want to go with this. I do think they'll get out of this group. Maybe they get knocked out in the round of 16, and you really have to reevaluate how far they've fallen. All right, the final group that we've yet to touch on today, Group E, Ajax, Bayern, Benfica, AEK Athens. Chandler, I know this is the one that you were keeping a very close eye on today. Ajax against Bayern Munich, 1-1 draw. Ajax, man, they're going to feel real disappointed not coming away with 3 points, which is a surprise considering you look at, you're going into the Allianz to play away against Bayern. Most people would chalk that up as 3 points for the home side. Ajax were the better team here.
They were, and I was really, really impressed with their 4-3-3 setup. They went with kind of an organic front three with David Neres, Dusan Tadic, who moved there in the summer from Southampton, and Hakim Ziyech, who was absolutely brilliant all match. They were very fluid, the front three, and full credit to the manager, Eric Den Haag. Not a lot is expected out of them this year in the Champions League, even though they've kind of been gifted a decent group, but he had them guessing. He was playing a high press at certain times and then laying off the ball. Bayern were poor all over the pitch. Lewandowski barely got a touch. Jerome Boateng looks completely past it. He got absolutely, both he and Hummels were burned on the Ajax goal. And there's a lot of questions. I mean, look, Thiago Alcantara is probably the most important player in the middle of the park for Bayern. They are not getting him the ball. And for all the talk of, this Frankie de Jong kid, this kid on Ajax, he wasn't in the Matchday squad today. He's short of fitness. So, I mean, this was not the full-strength Ajax squad. They went to the Allianz Arena and got an absolutely brilliant result.
Yeah, the one clip of Hakim Ziyech was doing the rounds on social media with some ridiculous crossfield ball he put on. He's really, really been impressing me recently. And also, I wanted to have a word for Dusan Tadic. I mean, when he was at Southampton, there was these rumours going around under Ronald Koeman. He had a bad attitude. He wasn't performing. I think he got dropped to go and train with the reserves at one point as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Koeman who was the issue here. I mean, an unnamed source who I know is very associated with Everton told me once that Koeman is the most arrogant person he's ever dealt with in his life.
I mean, in hindsight, you look back at the way things turned out for Ronald Koeman's career, that's not so difficult to believe.
And you see Dusan Tadic now, he pulls on a captain's armband at Ajax. He's got 4 goals, 2 assists in 7 Eredivisie games. And he's been fantastic in the Champions League as well. I mean, he led the line today for Ajax, which you could never expect him to do very well at Southampton. And, against AEK Athens in the first game as well, he was an absolute menace down the left-hand side. I've always been an appreciator of his talents, and it's great to see him really taking on the leadership role at a club.
Yeah, and that was a cheap signing too. I think Southampton could have got more out of him because, look, frankly, the last few years at Southampton, he's been their sort of creative fulcrum. And I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was like £10 million they paid for him, but a couple of really smart additions in the summer because they brought Dali Blind in. He's played almost every position for them this year. Today they had him in the midfield out left. He was swapping. He was moving centrally. He's a very resourceful defender and a very good man marker. So they have a lot of youth in there. They have a Casper Dolberg coming off the bench, Matthias de Ligt, who looks like the next star central defender, and a shout for Andre Onana, the keeper, 22-year-old Cameroonian shot stopper. I can't remember the last time I've seen a keeper claim balls as well as him. And Bayern Munich was quite one-dimensional. A lot of wide attacks, firing the ball into the area, and Onana came out and caught every single one. I think he's got a Premier League future for him there.
What do we make of this Bayern Munich team under Niko Kovac? Because, it's Bayern we're talking about. It's always win the Champions League or bust. I think anything less than that is seen as a failure, right? So Kovac has chopped and changed his 11 throughout the season. Some injuries with Corentin Tolisso is a huge one. Kingsley Coman as well is out. So you're going to rely heavily again on Robin and Ribéry, which seems like we say that every year. What do we make of Bayern? Can they really challenge for the Champions League? Because they always are in that top 3 or 4 bracket. But do we feel the same way about them this season?
I don't. It's going to come down to the draw. They're going to make the knockout stage. Like, matter of fact, that'll be quite a simple ask for them. But I think they have a lot of players who are past it. Lewandowski does not look good. Thomas Mueller's kind of dropped deeper in this quasi number 10 to play provider for the Polish striker. He doesn't look great. Like you said, an overdependency on Robben and Ribéry in light of the Coman injury, in light of maybe Serge Gnabry's failure to kind of emerge as a big player. And look, Hummels is past it. Boateng is past it. I was not really impressed with David Alaba today. He was, an absolute fit out wide left whenever Hakim Ziyech ran at him, he looked really uncomfortable. So, I mean, look, Niko Kovac, it's going to take a few years to kind of put his imprint on the team. We talk so often, though, about, answering poor, results domestically by bouncing back in Europe. They lost on the weekend at Hertha Berlin. They dropped the top spot in the Bundesliga. Borussia Dortmund's kind of usurped them for the top spot, nicked that on 14 points by virtue of their win over Bayer Leverkusen. So all of a sudden, there's a little bit of trouble in paradise, and I kind of feel for Niko Kovac.
I couldn't agree more that this team's looking very tired. And, the Bayern Munich hierarchy have almost been a little bit braggy about the fact they don't lay down a lot of money for players. Maybe it's about time they do. They're just, they're so aged in some areas. Lewandowski, basically moaned for ages about having no backup. They signed Sandro Wagner as like a cheapo option. Like, they've never really laid down the cash in recent years, and I think it's long, long overdue. Otherwise, they can't compete in the Champions League. And yeah, they might lose their crown in the Bundesliga, believe it or not.
There does feel like at times from the Bayern brass, like a holier than thou kind of, oh, look at you guys going in, frivolously, spending money while we're, shrewd operators in the transfer market. You get that sense a little bit sometimes, Chandler?
I can't stand Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. Every time he opens his mouth, he sticks his foot right in there. The stuff about Mesut Ozil over the summer was absolutely insipid. And we heard a lot about when Carlo Ancelotti was there, a lot of problems like, oh, he's not the right man for the dressing room. The more and more I think of it, I think the players aren't right. Robert Lewandowski complained, bitched about his teammates that they didn't do enough to help him win the Bundesliga Golden Ball. I don't think Ribéry has a great attitude there. So many issues. Manuel Neuer. I mean, so much talk about the manager being the issue, but I think the players are the problem. And I think there's sort of a toxic attitude, where they feel privileged, success is automatic. And I would love to see them bounced from the Champions League. I'd love to see Borussia Dortmund win the Bundesliga and end their 6-year stretch.
All the love for Bayern on this podcast.
Tell me how you really feel. All right, give me a minute. Give me the conch. No, okay. I'm done with Bayern, but...
And despite all that, I mean, they're definitely coming out of this group, right? You look at it, whether it's Ajax or Benfica, and on the basis of today's action, I think, you'd say you tip Ajax to go out there along with Bayern. Bayern, they're just too talented, I think, at the end of the day. And whether or not they can actually make a long run remains to be seen, but they'll definitely get out of Group E here. They're second right now on goal difference behind Ajax. Benfica on 3 points. AEK Athens is just there to say they were in the Champions League for a season. Thanks for coming out. That was Tuesday's action. Let's take a very quick look ahead to tomorrow. The big one, I think, for this match day overall, you got Liverpool and Napoli. To me, this could be a really fun back and forth barn burner, even without Maurizio Sarri at Napoli. Carlo Ancelotti has not changed a ton, and why would you? Napoli were so good under Sarri. You're not going to come in and put completely your own blueprint on the team and change everything. Rouse, Liverpool, coming off that really exciting draw against Chelsea, and speaking of Maurizio Sarri, how do you see this one playing out? And it's an important match as well because you figure PSG is going to handily beat Red Star at home as well.
Yeah, I tipped Liverpool to have a tough time getting out of this group. That was, we had to stick our necks out for one of our predictions, but I think I overestimated PSG. They were absolutely insipid in the first match day. The gap between the midfield and attack was absolutely huge, and Liverpool should have won that game comfortably, and I actually think they'll be absolutely fine against Napoli. I think Ancelotti still has a lot of things to sort out with that club, and I think Liverpool should maybe 3-1 that game, I think.
Ooh, even away at Napoli. I mean,
yep.
the São Paulo, it's an intimidating stadium. It's no Red Star Belgrade, let's be honest.
No.
But, when the fans are really up for it, that place can really get rocking.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
With all of the above. You know what? Liverpool-Napoli is not my marquee matchup for tomorrow, though, if you will. It is Barcelona visiting Tottenham's makeshift stadium, one of their, I guess, 3 or 4 stadiums they're playing in this year, playing musical chairs with their home grounds.
Oh, this match not at MK Dons?
No, it's not at MK Dons or down at Lamport Stadium where we play Sunday nights. It'll be interesting. Look, last year, great European nights for Tottenham. They had that great draw at the Santiago Bernabeu and then the win over Real Madrid at Wembley, which was one of their, great continental affairs. Tough group again. And Barcelona is visiting Tottenham at a tough time. No Christian Eriksen, no Dele Alli, no Moussa Dembele, no Jan Vertonghen, no Serge Aurier. I'm probably forgetting someone else, but that is going to be a tough ask. And look, this is a Barcelona side who, they're not exactly flying high right now under Ernesto Valverde.
Yeah, they've dropped points in each of their last 3 league matches. So some trying times for Barcelona definitely right now. Let's see if they can bounce back. Those 2 are the big standouts tomorrow. Also keep an eye on Dortmund-Monaco, the Michael Chandler derby. He's getting all perked up over here. That one should be very interesting. If tomorrow is anything like today and some of the surprises we got thrown, we're in for a very big treat. That's going to do it for us today. So I will say thank you very much to Michael Chandler.
Pleasure to be here.
And to Daniel Rouse.
I'm so disappointed we didn't get to talk about someone throwing a cabbage at Steve Bruce, but maybe we'll save that for the weekend.
On our championship podcast, we'll definitely discuss that. I'm Gianluca Nesci. We'll talk to you tomorrow.